Hello, dear student. Welcome to the third lesson in syntax. Okay, so today's lesson, as the previous lessons, is going to be based on Carnie 2013. Okay, this book, Introduction to Syntax, and basically it's going to the third lesson is going to be based on the third chapter. Okay, constituency, trees, and rules. So syntax is about the study of sentence structure, right? So what is structure? So consider the sentence in one. The student loved his syntax assignments. The sentence in one consists of a linear string of words. It is horizontal, linear string of words, okay? We could describe the sentence as consisting of the words the. So look at the sentence. We have the, we have student, loved, his, syntax, and assignment in that order. So the sentence consists of linear string of words in this order from the left to the right. Okay, so if that were all there is to syntax, we could make several important generalizations about the internal structure of sentences and how these structures are represented in our minds. So basically, syntax is not just about um, linear words, okay, put together to form sentence. Okay, there is a lot that is uncovered in this. So syntax is more is it needs or is more or is about more than just linear of words. Okay, there is some internal, okay, hidden information that we need to discover. So we're going to claim that the words in sentence one are grouped into units called constituents, okay, and that these constituents are grouped into larger constituents and so on until you get a sentence. So basically a sentence is a group of units. These units form constituents, okay? These units are constituents. So we have small constituents grouped together to form larger constituents, and so on and so forth until you get a sentence. Certain words seem to be closely related to one another in the sentence. So for example, the word the seems to be tied more to the meaning of student than it is to loved or syntax. So if we take the sentence in one, the student loved his syntax assignments. The student, the is more attached to the is more attached to student. Okay, there is something that which we are going to see. Okay, that shows that it is more related, more attached to the student, for example, the, than it is to the rest of the sentence. Lovely. So a related intuition can be seen by looking at the sentence in two. So look at the sentences in two. A, the student loved his phonology readings. B, the student hated his morphology professor. So the relationship between the student and his syntactic assignment that we have in sentence number one and the student and his phonology readings in number two is the same. Okay, so we have the same, almost the same sentence. The student loved his phonology readings. The student loved his syntax assignment. So this sentence are the same. Now, what about the sentence B? Comparison to number one. So the relation between the student and his morphology professor in 2b, while a different kind, hating instead of loving, is similar. So even if we take the sentence number three, it is similar. Just instead of loved, we have here hated. So this difference is not syntactic, but it is semantic. Okay, so it's the meaning of the words that is changed, but syntactically they are both verbs, so they both occupy the same position in sentence. So both of these sentences are similar. So there is one entity, the student, who is either hating or loving another entity. His syntactic assignment, his phonology readings, or his morphology professor. So to capture these intuitions, the intuition that some words are more related to others, okay? So to capture these intuitions, that certain words are more closely connected than others, and the intuitions about the relationship between words in a sentence, we need more complex notions. We need a syntactic notion, okay, complex notion that we need to use to capture these intuitions that we have in the relationship between the words. So the notions we use to capture these intuitions are constituency and hierarchical structure. So these are the two syntactic notions that we need to use to capture the intuitions about the relationship between words in sentence. So the idea that the and student are closely related to one another is captured by the fact that we treat them as part of a bigger unit that contains them, but not other words. Okay, we consider there, for example, a student as a constituent because they are part of a bigger unit. Okay, other words, they are part of other constituents. So we have like constituent, 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 etc. in a sentence. So there are two different ways of representing these bigger units. That is, different ways to represent a constituent. How do we represent a constituent? One way is to use square brackets around them. Like in 3, we have this student, so we have the square bracket to show that this phrase is one constituent. Okay, this student is one constituent, one unit. And then the other is to represent the units with a group of lines in what is called a tree structure. So we either use square brackets, like in 3, or we use a tree structure. The student showing that, okay, the and student, they both form something. Okay, for example, let's say a noun. They both form a noun phrase, for example. Okay, they both form a noun phrase. These bigger units are called constituents. An informal definition for a constituent is given in 5. So constituent, this is just an informal definition. Constituent is a group of words that function together as a unit. All right? What is a constituent? A group of words that function together as a unit, one unit. Constituency is the most important and basic notion in syntactic theory. They capture the intuitions mentioned above, the intuitions about the relationship between words, okay, the relatedness. It's captured by membership in a constituent, which belongs to which, that's constituent. As we will see, it is, or it also allows us to capture the relationship between constituents exemplified in one. So constituents are embedded one inside another to form larger and larger constituents. So this is a hierarchical structure. This hierarchical structure can be demonstrated with the example given in sentence 1 below. So if we go back to the sentence 1, this is the tree structure, okay? The hierarchical structure of the sentence. So we have the student loved his syntax assignments. Both of them, or all these are TP. So we have TP, which is tense phrase, okay, sentence. On the left, we have NP, noun phrase. We have a determiner and a noun, yes. And then we have a VP. So loved his syntax assignment. All of it is larger constituent. You see, we have larger constituent, which is loved his syntax assignment. This is a VP, constituent that forms a verb phrase. And in this verb phrase, we have verb, and then we have another constituent, which is his syntactic assignment. And then we have yes, that's it, etc. So as you can see, this tree structure is used here to represent a constituent, which is here a sentence, and in each sentence we have small constituents. So this is a typical hierarchical tree structure. The sentence constituent represented by the symbol TP consists of two constituents, a subject noun phrase in P, the student, and the predicate phrase or verb phrase VP, loved his syntactic assignment. The subject in P in turn contains a noun, student, and a determiner or article, the determiner, which is the. Similarly, the VP contains a verb and an object, NP, which is his syntactic assignment. The object that we have also, and we have the object NP is further broken down into 3 bits. That is, we have a determiner, which is his, and an adjective syntax, okay, syntax and a noun assignment. We have syntax, we have his assignments, so we have determiner, adjective, and the noun. So as you can see, this tree has constituents, each represented by the point where lines come together that are inside other constituents. This is hierarchical structure. So this is what we call hierarchical structure or tree structure. So hierarchical constituent structure can also be represented with brackets, as in 7. Okay, these are bracketed diagrams, square brackets. So we have TP, the student loved his syntactic assignment, is represented here. So each constituent um, is covered in the brackets. So we have brackets from the left and the side to form, from the left and the right to form one constituent. So we have TP, the first square, okay, the bracket, the first bracket, sorry, have the big one, and then that TP has the last bracket in the sentence, and then we have NP, okay, in which we have the student, and then we have VP, in which we have loved his syntactic assignments. In this VP we have NP, his HP syntax, and an assignment. So this is another way, the second way, of course, in which we represent constituent sentences using a bracketed diagram or square brackets. So each pair of brackets represents a constituent. We normally put the label of the constituent on the in the left member of the pair. So bracketed diagrams, as you can see, are much harder to read. So we will use tree diagrams most of the time. Okay, however, sometimes bracketed diagrams have their uses. So you should be able to translate back and forth between trees and bracketed diagrams. Okay, bracketed diagrams are a little difficult to present. Okay, but tree diagrams are easier. But mostly we will use tree structure, hierarchical structure. Now, rules and trees. In generative grammar, generalizations about structure are represented by rules. These rules are said to generate the tree. So, if we draw a tree a particular way, we need a rule to generate that tree. The rules are called phrase structure rules, PS rules, okay, phrase structure rules, PS rules, because they generate the phrase structure tree of a sentence. You are going to see these best rules. For example, let's start with noun phrase, an NP. An NP is a noun phrase. We can explore the range of material that can appear in NPs. So what are the materials that can appear in NP? So we have the simplest. NP contains only a noun. We can have one noun which forms an NP. A noun phrase consisting only of one noun, one material, one word. Okay, usually a proper noun. We say, for example, plus proper, or plus pronoun, or minus countable, mass countable. Okay, minus countable, or plural noun. For example, plus plural. So, for example, in 8 we have John. John is an NP, which consists only of a noun, which is proper noun. Okay, one noun, right? B, water. C, cats. So these are NPs, and they consist only of one material, one word, which is a noun. Okay. So in NP, we may have only one noun, or Okay, our rule first before we move on. Our rule must minimally generate NPs that contain only an NP. We need a rule that generates um, NPs that contain only an NP. So the format for pass rules is shown in 9a. We use X, Y, and Z here as variables to stand for any category. So 9b, for example, shows our first pass at an EP rules. So we look at the in 9a. 9a, we have this rule. This is the rule that we use to generate NPs, to generate phrase structure rules, right? So what do we have here? The label for the constituent XP, for example. In XP, we may have an NP, for example. An NP instead of XP consists of an element that make up the constituent. So in our case, look at B. In our case, we have an NP. If we want to replace the rules by actual NPs, okay, actual words. So we have XP in B. It is NP. This NP consists of one noun. This rule says that an NP is composed of or consists of an noun, a nen, okay? Consists of a nen. Right. This rule would generate a tree like the one in 10. A noun, an NP, consists of a noun. Okay, this tree shows what the rule we have seen just what the rule that we have just seen says. So an NP consists of a name. There are many NPs. Those that are plus countable are more complex than these, of course. So we have, for example, the box. Okay, his binder, that pinky fluffy cushion. So these NPs have more than just one word. So okay, the first one in 11a, it consists of two words. The second two words, but look at the NP in C. And that pink fluffy cushion, right? Forward. So how can we represent this one? So we must revise our rule because we said earlier that an NP consists at least, okay, of a noun. Now we may have more than that. Like in A, we have the box, so we have determiner and the noun, right? So the NP consists of determiner and the noun. That's how we revise our rule. This generates a tree like the one in B. An NP, you see, it consists of a D, determiner, which is the, and the noun, which is box. Okay, so now we have seen an NP that consists of only one word, which is a noun, two words, determiner and a noun. All right, let's move on to see more complex NPs. Determiners are optional, of course. We indicate their optionality in the rule by using parentheses. So we use parentheses around the optional elements. So an NP in 13, as you can see, it consists of an optional determiner and the noun. So noun is obligatory. We cannot have an NP without a noun. That's why it is called an NP. Okay, noun phrase. So the most necessary term that we need to have an NP is noun. And then we may have other words which are optional, starting from the determiner. So determiner here is optional. We use parentheses around it to show that it is optional. Nouns can also be optionally modified by adjectives. So we'll need again to revise our rule as in 14. Okay, so look at the sentence in 14, or both sentences. The big box. So we have the big, an adjective, and go to noun. His yellow binder. So what do we have here? Here an NP consists of an optional determiner. Okay, we can remove it and we can still have an NP. And an optional adjectival phrase, an optional adjective. It is also an optional because we can remove it and we still have a word. We still have noun, an NP, sorry. And then we have an obligatory noun. So an NP consists of an optional determiner, an optional adjective, and a noun. Nouns can also take prepositional phrase, PP, modifiers, as in 16. So once again, we will have to revise our rule. In 16, we have the big box of crimes. Okay, here's yellow binder with the red strip or stripe. So what we have here, an NP which consists of or composed of determiner, which is optional, adjective, optional, an obligatory noun, and an optional PP. Okay, preposition phrase come after the noun. Okay, that's why they are put on the other side, so they come after, and they are also optional. Look at the tree in 18. This is the best rules for this tree, how to represent uh, the tree or the sentence, the big box of crayons, using past rules. Okay, this is the tree structure. So we have the determiner, adjective, noun, and PP here, in which we have preposition and the noun, of course, of crayons. So the NP constituent in 18 consists of 4 subconstituents: determiner, adjective, noun, and PP. So we can have more than one adjective and more than one PP in an English NP. Look at the example in 19. The big yellow box of cookies with the pink lid. You see, this is an NP, and it consists of 2 adjectives and two HPs, sorry, and 2 PPs. Okay, so in this NP, the noun box is modified by big yellow of cookies and with the pink lid. So these all are modifiers. Okay, the rule must be changed then to account for this. So we need again to revise our rule. It must allow more than one adjective and more than one PP modifier. We indicate this with a plus, which means repeat this category as many times as needed. So an NP consists of a determiner, it's composed of a determiner, which is optional, a number of HPs, you see HP plus, a number of HPs that is more than one, and a noun, obligatory, and a number of PPs, of course, again, more than one prepositional phrase. So this is how we revise our theory. We add elements, and then we keep revising to form a final, to come with a final rule. So we will have a reason to slightly revise this rule later, but for now we can use it as a working hypothesis. Now we have finished with NPs, right? NPs, they either consist of, okay, one noun, determiner and a noun, determiner, adjective and a noun, uh, uh, a number of adjectives and a determiner and the number of adjectives and the noun and the number of PPs, right? And now let's move on to the adjective phrase and adverb phrase. Consider the following 2 NPs: the big yellow book, the very yellow book. In 21a, big modifiers book, the big yellow book, so the big book, okay? So big modifies book, as does yellow. Yellow also modifies book. So in the sentence A, we have big and yellow, both of them, they modify book. On the other hand, in 21b, only yellow modifies book. We cannot say the very book, okay? It's ungrammatical, the very book. But we can say the big book. Look at A. The big book, the yellow book, correct. The yellow book, yes. The very book, no. So very does not modify book in B. The very book doesn't exist. It modifies yellow. You see the difference? So in A, big and yellow, both of them modify book. In B, only yellow modifies book and very modifies yellow. So the structures of these two phrases are actually quite different. 21a has two adjective constituents that modify the n, whereas 20b has only one, which is very yellow. So this constituent is called an adjective phrase, and not B. The rule for the adjective phrase is given in 22a. So an adjective consists of an optional adverb and a nudge. All right, very yellow, for example. We have very, which is an adverb, and an adverb, right? And we have yellow, which is the adjective. So an adjective consists of an optional adverb, and an obligatory adjective, that is adjective. This will give us the following structure for the two MPs in 21. Okay, so we have the big yellow book, and then we have the very yellow book, right? In the left with A. So look at the structure, look at the tree structure. Almost the same sentences, but the tree structure is different because adverbs here modify adjectives and not nouns. So the big yellow book. So we have each one on its own. So we have determiner on its own. Adjective. You have a line for adjective, a line for yellow, which is adjective, and another line for book. Okay, because all these modify book. Okay, that's why we have them this way. But in B, we cannot have a nod coming from noun on its own because it doesn't modify book. So it modifies yellow. That's why it should be, let's say, sister to yellow. Okay, let's use this word for now. Let's say it should be a sister to yellow. That's why it should be beside it and not coming from the NP as noun and as determinant. The same as in the example we have in A. So we have determinant. Adjective. Okay, an adjective consists of an adverb, and then an adverb. Sorry, I have to correct that. So here it's an adverb. Okay. So there we have an adverb. An adverb consists of an adverb in which we have an adverb very and a nudge yellow and book. So very yellow. In this tree shows why we shouldn't, why very doesn't modify book. Okay, because it is a sister to yellow, it modifies yellow. It doesn't modify book. The tree shows this case very well. Now we know how, or we know why very doesn't modify book. It modifies yellow because it forms a constituent with it. Very yellow is one constituent. Okay. So despite their surface similarity, these two NPs have radically different structures. In 23a, the N is modified by two adjectives. Okay, so we have two adjectives, which is big and yellow. In 23b, by only one, which is yellow. We have only one adjective, which is yellow book. So this leads us to an important restriction on tree structures. 24 is now moved to the principle of modification. This is the principle of modification. It's still very informal. We'll have it in a formal way. So modifiers are always attached within the phrase they modify. You have a modifier, it is within the phrase these modifiers modify. So the adverb very modifies yellow, it is in the phrase with yellow. It is a member of a very yellow. Okay, so it is part of the yellow, the adjective yellow. In 23b, in 23a, by contrast, big doesn't modify yellow. Okay, we cannot say big yellow, big book, yellow book. So it modifies book. So it is attached directly to the NP containing book. So both of them, big, yellow, they are attached to book. Okay, because they modify it. In 23a, no, both big, sorry, the very only modifies yellow, so it is only it is only attached to the HP yellow. A very similar rule is used to introduce adverbs. So an adverb, this is the rule, base rule. Adverb, okay, the adverb consists of an optional adverb and an adverb. Okay, we may have an adverb which is optional and an obligatory adverb. The example is very quickly. Okay, very quickly, we have the adverb very and adverb quickly. Okay, let's move on. A common mistake to avoid. Notes that the adverb rule specifies that its modifier is another adverb. Okay, it's not adverb or something, so it's another adverb. So adverb consists of adverb which is optional and adverb. The rule does not say adverb consists of an adverb and an adverb. Okay, the first one is an adverb, not adverb. So we'll never get three of the form shown in 28. We cannot have an adverb which consists of an adverb and an adverb. That is an adverb and an adverb, but an adjective, an adverb phrase, and an adverb. Right? You might find the tree in 27 a little confusing. There are two adverbs and two adverb phrases. In order to understand that tree a little better, let's introduce a new concept. This new concept is called heads. Head. So the head of a phrase is the word that gives the phrase its category. We say, for example, an NP, a noun phrase. Noun is the head. It gives the NP, it gives the phrase the category NP. So for example, the head of the NP is the noun phrase. The head of the noun phrase is the noun. The head of preposition phrase is the preposition. The head of the adjective phrase is the adjective. The head of an adverb phrase is an adverb. All right. So let's take the example in 29a. Adjective phrase very low, for example. So we have the category adjective. Okay. This adjective consists of a head which is adj, yellow, and another phrase. This phrase consists of its head, which is very. So very is the head, not the head of the big phrase, the one that we have at the top, the big adjective phrase, but just the head of adverb, just the head of adverb phrase. But yellow is the head of the whole constituent, the whole adjectival phrase. Okay, that's why. So when we have the one that is ahead, we don't use phrase. Okay, not like on the left. So in the left we have adj p, so we have p phrase, all right. But on the right we have just adj because yellow is the head, so we don't use phrase. The phrase is the big, the adj one on the top. That is the big um, category, right? So in 20a, the heads should be clear. The adverb very is the head of the adverb phrase, and the adjective yellow is the head of the adjective, so the whole adjective. Let's go to adverb phrase. You see, very quickly. So we have the adverb quickly is the head of the whole constituent, very quickly. All right, but very is only the head of the adverb, not very quickly, just very. Okay, just the adverb, the adverb preposition, the adverb phrase. Sorry. All right. So quickly, as you can see, is the head of the adverb phrase. which is the head of the whole constituents. It is the head of the whole constituent because it gives the name to the category. It names this category. Okay, this category, this very quickly, this adverb phrase, it is an adverb phrase because it has the head, which is the adverb. That's why it is called adverb phrase. In 29b, we have the same kind of headedness, except both elements are adverbs. So very is the head of the lower adverb, and quickly is the head of the higher one. See, the big one. We have two adverbs, so we have two adverb phrases. Each has its own head. With this in mind, we can explain why the very adverb phrase, okay, is embedded in the adjective phrase. We will give a more precise version of the principal modification here. So principle of modification that we have said earlier. We're going now to revise it. So if an XP, that is a phrase with some category X, I said the head is X, okay, for the XP. It gives the name of the category. So if an XP, that is a phrase with some category X, modifies some head Y, then XP must be a sister to Y, daughters of YP. Look at the example. So we have HP, that is the Y. So we say that the HP is the YP. For example, that's the phrase, the big phrase, okay, the big category, the YP. So we have the YP, right? This HP consists of an XP, which is the adverb phrase, and Y. Okay, Y and XP are sisters to each other, right? So they are sisters. I'm sorry, they are sisters, and the YP, the category, the big category, is the mother. So it's like the adjectival phrase is the mother of an adverb phrase and a nudge. An adverb phrase and a nudge are sisters, and the HP is the mother. So the diagram in 31 shows that the relation, okay, the relation mentions or the relations mentioned in the definition in 30. If we take the HP to be the mother, then its daughters are the adverb and the head adj. Since adverb and adj are both daughters of the same mother, then we say they are sisters. In 30, sorry, X and Y are variables that stand for any category. If one XP adverb modifies some head Y, which is adj, then the XP must be sister to Y. So the adverb must be a sister to the head HP, meaning they must share a mother. This relationship is asymmetric. Call it asymmetric. Adverb modifies adj, but adj does not modify adverb. So it goes only on one direction. All right, that's why it is asymmetric. The adverb modifies adj, but adj doesn't modify adverb. Now let's move on to prepositional phrase. Now we have seen our phrase, adjective phrase, adverb phrase. Now let's move on to prepositional phrase. Most PPs take the form of a preposition. This preposition, of course, is the head of the prepositional phrase, followed by an NP. For example, to the store with an X, all right, behind the rubber tree. So we have PP, which is to, and the NP, which is the store. PP with, NP, which is an X. PP behind, NP, which is the rubber tree. So the PP rule appears to be the PP, this is the phrase structure rule for these sentences, or for the preposition phrase in general. So PPs, or a preposition phrase, consists of a preposition and an NP. Both of them, as you can see, are obligatory, so we don't have this optionality like the one we had in previous categories. All right, so with the next, right? So we have a preposition phrase, we have a P with, and an NP, which is one constituent, and next, which consists of a determinant and a noun. So in the rule we have given here, the NP in PP is obligatory. Yes. However, okay, there may actually be some evidence for treating the NP in NPPs as optional. But for now, or in these cases, they are uh, obligatory. So there is a class of prepositions traditionally called particles that don't require following NP. I haven't seen him before. These articles, or let's say particles in phrasal verbs, for example, I blow it up. As you can see, up doesn't require an NP after it. It doesn't require an NP. I haven't seen him before. Doesn't require an NP. I throw the garbage out. It doesn't require an NP, but only in this case. All right, only in this case. Other cases, the NP is obligatory just as the preposition. So if these are prepositions, I don't know if they are considered prepositions, but if they are prepositions, then it appears as if the NP in the PP rule is optional. So we may say that PP consists of a preposition phrase consists of preposition and an optional NP. There is some debate about whether particles are prepositions or not. Okay, there has a lot of debates upon this issue. However, we will not concern ourselves on the debate of this issue here. So we'll leave that for the syntacticians to work on, and we'll keep considering, for example, NP as obligatory in the preposition phrase. In other cases, of course, but in this case, it's optional. But this is very rare. All right. Now let's move on to verb phrase. Okay, verb phrase, VP. Minimally, a VP consists of single verb. This is the case of intransitives. For example, a verb consists of a V. Okay. John left. So we have John and left. VP has one V, just like NP has one N at the least. That is minimally. Verbs may be modified by adverbs, right? So, which are, of course, optional. John left quickly, right? So here, left quickly. John, we can say John left, which is syntactical. John left quickly. This adverb is optional, but they are there to modify verbs. So a VP, it consists of either, okay, at least or minimally a verb, or a verb plus an adverb, that is an adverb phrase, which is optional. Okay, left quickly. This is in C. You see the tree diagram or the tree structure of the sentence. So many of these adverbs can appear on either side of the V, and you can have as many adverbs, okay, as many adverbs as you like. John quickly left. All right. John deliberately always left quietly early. This is a grammatical sentence. You see how many adverbs? We have a lot of adverbs. Two before left, two before the verb, two after the verb. Okay. So a VP, again, to revise our rule as we did with the other phrase structures, other phrase structures that we have talked about, other phrases. So to revise our rule again on um, verb phrase may consist, okay, or consists of a number of adverbs, a number of adverb phrases, which are optional. Okay, we may have more than one, all right, and a verb, which is obligatory, and a number of adverb phrases. Right. So as you can see, the sentence that we have just said structurally, okay, is represented in a tree structure in 39. The laboratory always left quietly early. All right. So the verb, the head here is the verb left, and both deliberately always, quietly early, both of them modify the verb. Okay. So we'll recall that there is a subcategory of verbs that can take an NP object, the transitive verbs. So the verbs that we have talked about now are just intransitive verbs. But we also have transitive verbs, verbs that require another NP. Okay, the transitive verbs, these NPs appear immediately after the verb and before any adverbs. So VP consists of, to revise our rule again, VP consists of a number of adverb, verb, an optional, of course, NP, and an optional and the number of optional adverbs. For example, Bill frequently kissed his mother-in-law. Bill kissed his mother-in-law quietly. Bill kissed quietly his mother-in-law. No, this one is ungrammatical. So we can either have the the NP after, it's always after the verb. Okay, kissed quietly. It's after the verb and before any adverbs. It should be after the verb and before the adverbs. But in the sentence, the last one in CF, as you can see, we have the NP after verb, yes, but not before the adverb. Okay, so that's why it is grammatical. So just remember, okay, the NP should be after the verb and before the adverb. Okay. Okay, so kissed his mother-in-law quietly. Okay, his mother-in-law is one constituent, all right, an NP, and it modifies kissed, the verb, and quietly also modifies the verb. It is also possible to have two NPs in a sentence, for example, with a double object verb like spare. Okay, so this is, you have the NP, we have the slot, and you have an NP and an NP. So both these NPs must come between the verb and any adverbs, right? I spared the student in embarrassment yesterday. Okay, so we will list both NPs in the row. A VP consists of a number of adverbs, verb, two NPs, and adverb. All right, adverb piece, adverb. This is adverb phrase. As you can see in B, spared the student in embarrassment yesterday. The student, one constituent, which is NP, in embarrassment, one constituent, NP. They both modify spare, the verb, and yesterday also modifies spare, the verb, right? So verbs can be modified by PPs as well. So these PPs can be arguments as in ditransitive verbs of the verb of the type. So we have verb in NP. The slot is for the verb, right? An NP and the PP. So the PP argument of the verb put, or they can be simple modifiers for like for a dollar below. So these PPs can appear either after an adverb or before it. Let's go to the sentence. Bell frequently got his buckets. Got his buckets. So we have his buckets from the store. Okay, so his buckets, that's an NP. From the store, that's a PP. For a dollar, that's another PP. You see, we have two PPs here, plus NP. So verb phrase, to revise our rule again, to come up with like the final rule, We just add possible materials, possible phrases, possible um, words that we can add in a sentence to form VP. That is maximally the VP should be like this. So the VP consists of um, mostly, okay, consists of a number of adverb phrases, all right, verb, which is optional, an NP and an NP, which are also optional, and an adverb phrase, a number of adverb phrase, more than one, a number of PPs, number of prepositional phrase, as you can see from the star, for a dollar, both are PPs, and a number of adverb phrase. Frequently got his buckets from the store for a dollar. You see, frequently is the adverb. Got is the V and it is the head. Got is modified by the NP, which is his buckets, the PP from the store, and another PP for a dollar. So the NP, the PP that we have here, and the WP, both of them modify the V, which is the head, the verb. Right. I hope this is clear. I hope so far you have, got the idea of what we are doing here. And then let's move on to cover more stuff in this lesson. Now let's move on to clauses. We talked about phrases, all right? Now let's move to talk about clauses, sentences, etc. So a clause or a sentence consists of a subject, right? An NP and a VP. The label we use for clause is TP, which stands for tense phrase. So we use the TP, okay, on the top to which stands for the tense phrase, a sentence. And a sentence has a tense, all right? You cannot have a sentence. Well, you may, but sentence consists of a tense, okay? That is very important. That's why they are called the sentence phrase, tense phrase, sorry, tense phrase. Now, we have Bill frequently got his buckets from the store for a dollar. This is a TP. This is a sentence, right? What does this sentence consist of? It consists of TP, which is, right? This TP consists of an NP, which is in the subject, okay? So the NP subject, and VP. VP, which is frequently got his buckets from the store for a dollar. This is just the first categorization. We just the first uh, this is how we firstly. So if we draw a tree, we can start with TP at the top, and then we draw a line for the NP to the left, and another line for the VP, which consists of the whole of the entire words, the entire phrase. Frequently got his packets from the store for a dollar. That's the VP. So this can be represented by the rule in 46. TP consists of an NP and VP. Both of them are obligatory, right? This is the sentence or the tree structure of the sentence we have just seen. Bill frequently got his buckets from the store for a dollar. See, so we have the VP that we have seen frequently got his buckets from the store for a dollar. That's the VP. And this VP, if we give it a subject, which is an NP, Bill, then we form a sentence. Okay, we form a TP tense phrase. So TPs can also include other items, including elements of the category T, such as modal verbs and auxiliary verbs like those in 48. So in 48 we have Cedric might crash the long boat. Gustav has crashed the semi-truck. Okay, so we have has and the might. These are the items that we put in T. They are tense. They are for the tense. So note that T in the TP is optional. TP consists of an NP and an optional T and the VP. A tree showing the application of this rule is given in 15. So look at this. So we have Cedric might crash lone boat. You can say, for example, Cedric crashes the lone boat, and then T is optional. Okay, we can have a sentence, a grammatical sentence without T, without might, which is the modal here, and of course, if we have it, then it's also grammatical. So that's what just we have talked about. All right, so T here is optional. The rest is obligatory. All right. Clauses don't always have to stand on their own. There are times where one clause is embedded inside another. Sean said Sean said he decked the janitor. Sean said that he decked the janitor. In sentence 51, the clause he decked the janitor lies inside the larger main clause. Often embedded clauses are introduced by complementizer like that or if. So we have Sean. Normally the sentence is Sean said that. Okay, so Sean said he decked the janitor. Normally it is Sean said that he decked the janitor. That we can include it or not, but still it is there. Okay, it is there whether you write it or not. In such sentences, it is there. Sean said that he decked the janitor. We need a special rule to introduce complementizer C. So this CP, that is complementizer phrase. CP consists of a complementizer, which is, for example, that in this case, and the TP, right? So Sean said that he decked the janitor. This is the true structure for this sentence. So we have TP tense phrase, okay? As we have said, TP consists of an NP and VP. These are obligatory, right? VP consists of a V, said, Sean said, that. So when you have that, that's a complementizer. Then that's a CP. From that on, we have a CP, complementizer phrase, which consists of a C and TP. He decked the janitor is one sentence, is a sentence on its own. It stands on it by itself. Okay. So another TP in which we have an NP and VP, as always in TP in tense phrase. VP consists of a V, the head, and the NP. NP consists of the terminal and genitor. Right. So we assume that all embedded clauses are CPs. Okay, or embedded clauses. They are embedded. You have something that. Okay. Someone said that. Okay. Someone asked if. So that CP is embedded, whether or not they have a complementizer. So this is what we have said. We will assume that all embedded clauses are CPs, whether or not they have a complementizer. So whether you have this, that, or if, for example, in the case of that, sometimes you may not find it there. It might not be written, but still the sentence is grammatical. But underlyingly, it is there. Okay. So this means that a sentence like Sean said he decked the janitor will have a CP in it, even though there is no complementizer for that. So that is always there, even if it is not sometimes written. Sean said, this is how we draw tree. If you are given, for example, Sean said he decked the janitor without the C, without the complementizer that, you can draw it this way. So we have an NP and VP. CP, you go automatically to TP. So we don't draw another line for C. We don't have it in the sentence, but it is there. CP is there, right? CP is always in the cases of, or C is always in the case of this embedded clause. Embedded clauses have complementizers, whether they are written or not. So we always have to write CP, which uh, again goes to which consists of TP, and the TP consists of an NP and VP, and so on and so forth. So embedded clauses appear in a variety of positions. In 54, the embedded clause appears in essentially the same slot as the direct object. Embedded clauses can also appear in subject position. For example, that he decked the janitor were a Jeff. Okay, look, here we have it in the position of of subject, right? That he dick to the janitor worried me. So because of this, we are going to have to modify our TP and VP rules to allow embedded clauses. So syntacticians use curly brackets, okay, as you can see, to indicate a choice. So NP and CP, that is one of them, okay? We have a choice, one of them. We use the curly brackets. Means that you are allowed either an NP or a CP, but not both of them. You just choose one of them. So when we have curly brackets like this, and you have an NP slash CP, means that you choose one of them, but not both. The modification to the TP rule is relatively straightforward. So we simply allow the choice between an NP and CP in the initial NP, right? So in this case, so we have a TP which consists of a CP on the left in the subject position and the VP that he decked the janitor, as you can see, worried Jeff. Here we have that, so that's why we have C, and the rest is just something we have been doing I mean since the beginning, or at least since the middle of this lesson. Right. The revised VP rule requires a little more fairness. First, observe that in verbs that allow both an NP and a CP, okay, an NP, we have an NP verb, an NP, and either NP or CP, as you can see, such as ask. So the CP follows the NP but precedes the PP. In the following sentence, yesterday and over the phone should be interpreted as modifying ask, not ate, essentially in the position of the second NP in the rule. So Naomi asked Erin if Dan ate her Kung Pao chicken yesterday over the phone. So yesterday and over the phone, yesterday over the phone, they modify ask. It's not the act of eating which happened yesterday. For example, Naomi asked Erin if Dan ate Kung Pao chicken yesterday over the phone. So he asked yesterday. It's not he ate. It's not he asked Erin if Dan, for example, ate yesterday. Okay, so the yesterday over the phone modify ask and not eat, not ate in this sentence. So this gives us the rule that VP consists of a number of adverbs, verb, an NP, and an NP or CP, one of them. Sometimes we have CP, complementizer phrase, sometimes we have an NP, right? And a number of adverbs, because adverbs can occur after the verb or before the verb, okay? And PP, right? Number of PPs and an adverbs, all right? So this is our final rule. Naomi asked Erin if Dan ate her Kung Pao chicken yesterday over the phone. So look at this tree diagram, tree structure of the rule. So TP consists of an NP and VP, as always. VP, we have verb, we have an NP, and then we have CP. CP branches down, okay, as you can see, which consists of F. F is a C, just like that. F, then. So yesterday over the phone, as you can see, it modifies asked. That's why it is. It's like a sister to verb. It's not sister to ate. All right. So this shows that yesterday over the phone modifies asked, but not the verb ate. The verb ate is within the CP. It's not sister to the other adverbs and PPs that we have seen, that you can see in the tree. In the case of, for example, here yesterday over the phone. Right, so we can have a look at the sentence, study, look, observe, and you comment, or take this sentence down, look at it and study it. Take your time to see it, and then we can move on to see something else. Right, so the last revision we have to make to our base rules is to add the CP as modifier to MPs to account for cases like 59. So the fact about Bill that he likes ice cream bothers Natasha. MP consists of a determiner, number of HPs, a noun, and PPs, and CP. You see, CP also here. So CP here modifies an MP. All right, okay. This is the diagram. The fact about Bill that he likes ice cream bothers Natasha. Do you see the PP about Bill? Okay, about Bill. It modifies fact, the fact or fact. All right. The CP, that's the PP. The CP also, the CP modifies MP. This is why we revised this MP is to add the CP. We didn't talk before about the CP, but when we talked when we introduced the CP, we went back to the noun phrases to talk about this CP. So CP here can also modify nouns, right? MPs like the fact. Okay, CP modifies the fact. And okay, so that's it, as you can see in the tree. Great, let's move on. Now let's move on to coordination, that is conjunctions. What type of constituent is the coordinated or conjoined constituents? This is a constituent that is joined together with words like and, or, but, nor, etc. You know the coordinating conjunctions. So the blue and the red station wagon. I saw these dancers and those musicians smoking something suspicious. I am drinking lemonade and eating a brownie. I have lost my wallet or I have lost my mind. We went through the woods and over the bridge. So you see these coordinations. How do syntacticians account for these coordinative conjunctions? Using a tree diagram and base rules. So we're going to see. So coordination seems to be able to join together two identical categories, right? So it should be this category should be identical, otherwise there is no conjunction. And create a new identical category out of them. So in order to draw tree with conjunction in them, we need two more rules. These rules are slightly different than the ones we have looked at up to now. They are not category specific. So instead they use a variable x. This x can stand for a noun or a verb or an adjective or a preposition. Okay, just like in algebra. So it is a variable that can stand for different categories. We need two rules. One, to conjoin phrases. For example, the Flintstones and the Rebels, in the sense they are going to see. And one, to conjoin words, the dancers and the singer. Okay, so an XP consists of an XP plus that is conjoined with another XP. An X consists of an X conjoined with another X. So okay, so these should be identical. XX, XP, XP. All right. So the blue and red. So when we have blue and red, that's an HB. All right. Have blue and red both are adjectives. So the whole category is an HB. They are conjoined because they are identical. We have a nudge and a nudge. Okay, an NP again can be conjoined when we have an NP plus an NP. These dancers, those musicians, both of them are identical. Both of them are NPs, so they are conjoined with and to form a bigger NP. Again, here we have VP, okay, which consists of identical um, phrases, we have drink a lemonade. VP is conjoined with another VP to form larger VP. All right, just as the one we have seen before. Drink a lemonade and eating brownies. Eating brownies VP, drinking lemonade VPs. So they are conjoined to form larger VP. We have here a TP. TP, which consists of, so TP, the larger TP consists of or conjoins two TPs. All right. I have lost my wallet, or I have lost my mind. So these TPs are conjoined together to form larger TP. That's why what we said about coordinate conjunctions. They conjoin um, constituents of the same category that are identical, right? Conjoin identical XPs. So PP again, we have a PP conjoined with another PP to form larger PP through the words and over the bridge. The same again, and we use this coordinating conjunction to conjoin two PPs to form larger PP. Uh, Now we move on to the summary. So in this section, we have been looking at the best rules needed to generate trees that account for English sentences. As we see in later chapters, this is nothing but a first pass at a very complex set of data. It is probably worth repeating that the final forms of each of the rules here. So these are the rules that we have been studying. We have been explaining since the beginning of this lesson. So we have CP, okay, consists of an optional C and a TP. TP consists of one of the two, one that is NP or CP, one of them, and TP and VP. So you can go through all these. Okay, this is something that we have been explaining. And for the conjunctions, we have XPs are conjoined with another XPs to form a larger XP. X is conjoined with an X to form larger X. So these rules account for a wide variety of English sentences. It is quite a complicated set, but it captures the basic generalizations about the constituency of English. So if you look at this sentence, it contains each of the rules that we have introduced so far. All the rules we have here. So we have TP, we have NP, we have VP, CP, we have PP. Okay, so all the rules are here. The big man from New York has often said that he gave peanuts to elephants. Now, another interesting and very important notion in syntax is recursion. Note the following thing. So the TP rule has a VP and read. Okay, a TP consists of a VP and an NP. So we have a VP and read. Similarly, the VP takes CP, all right, can take a CP and read, and the CP can take TP and read. Okay, so in each of these rules, each of these phrases, we have another phrase and read, or another sentence. So this means the three rules can form a loop and repeat endlessly, so they repeat themselves. Fred said that, Mary believes that, Susan wants that, and then you keep going. This is recursion. So this property, that is recursion, accounts partially for the infinite nature of human languages. This is what Chomsky speaks about when he speaks of the productivity and the creativity of languages. That is, languages are productive in the sense that through recursion, okay, in this example, through recursion, you can generate sentences that never heard before. You generate sentences using the same, okay, phrases, for example, TP and CP and the VP, and then you come up with an endless sentence, okay, an infinite number of sentences using a number of rules. All right, so this is recursion, and thank you very much for your patience in this video. It's a very long video. Keep it up until this moment. It takes a great effort, but it is worth it. This is a very important lesson in syntax, and I hope you enjoyed it, and catch you guys in the next video.